What's going on, guys? It's going to be a live Strong Life podcast with my buddy Paul Kolody. We're going to talk about strength and conditioning for athletes, as we always do. Paul and I are co-state chair for NHS SCA, National High School Strength Coaches Association. So, good timing to speak about training athletes. It is mid-December, so winter sports are really in full swing for the most part, except for track. Track competition begins usually right after the new year. And so we're going to be talking about the different styles of training or the different ways to approach training with fall sports now over. So they're in what we call the deep off season. We've got in-season training. And then I'd say by January, we're really looking at, we're 2 months out from spring sports already. So everything goes by very quickly. So looking forward to crushing this with Paul. One thing I always say, the very thing that precedes an in-season, a great season, is a great preseason, a great off-season. So Paul's here, Red Devil Strength. Paul, you just got to do a request to join, and we're going to crush some training and maybe get a little Q&A, and my phone is on do not disturb, so should be good to go. And by the way, you could talk to any strength coach who's been around a while, any sport coach, and they'll tell you, yeah, man, it's pretty obvious who's in shape at the beginning of the season. It's pretty obvious who's continuing their strength training through the middle and end of a sports season. You could see who's strong, who's powerful, who's healthy, who's confident, who has confidence in their preparation. You can see it clear as day. Oh, there we go. What's up, my brother?
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. Talking about what we always talk about. So we're here mid-December, Paul. Fall sports is over. Winter sports in full swing. And right when you were getting live, would love to hear what you think about this. We always think the same. As I said, coaches could see a mile away who showed up in shape, so they know who did the work in the weight room, who has improved their skill, who's put on size. And coaches could also see, and competitors and opposing coaches could see, oh, that kid's been keeping up with his strength training in season, or that team has been keeping up with their in-season strength training. So really the answer is year-round training, but let's talk about how we ebb and flow in season, preseason, and now what we would say after the fall. I'd call this is the deep off season, where you're usually free of other sports skill work unless you're in another sport. So what do you think, my man? We were talking about it this morning actually on the way to school. Oh my God, Paul froze up a little bit. Good old technology. Maybe the internet does not want us to talk about and discuss getting strong. So this is the downside to doing a Strong Life podcast live, but we're going to make it happen. So Paul, I would say exit out and then try to get back in. Let's see if I could re-invite Paul. Red Devil Strength. Okay, and then I'm going to try to remove Paul. There we go. Okay, so this is so funny. Do you see two of you in the bottom screen?
No, just one.
I have two of you. So you and I had a conversation this morning. We'll go with the same route. We're talking about, like, you had a baseball player that was training 4 days a week.
Yep.
And I was like, man, it's been a while since I've had athletes train 4 days a week in the off season. Normally it's twice a week, but 4 days gives you twice as many opportunities to get stronger, faster, address weak points. So what are you finding is kind of the best option right now with how hectic kids are with their sports?
Well, I still have that 4-day group that Ryan was in, that's my 230 group. So I'll have, depending on the day, I'll have anywhere from 6 to 9 kids in that group, and mostly baseball players and soccer players. So I have 3 girls soccer players. I have a flag football player, and then the rest are baseball. I think I have like 6 baseball players, if not 7. And they are Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, right after school. They're done by 3:30, 3:45, and then they're out. They're done. Another group comes in. So today we didn't have tutorials. So at 2:30, I had that advanced group, and then I also had my baseball group come in. I have some tennis players. They were on the other side. They did the Monday lift, which was trap bar deadlift, APRE 6, and then the other group was doing bench press 531. So the room was split a little bit, and they were getting after it, and it was still a lot of weight going down. It was a good day, and the other group is getting 3 days a week, and that advanced group is 4 days a week, and they're consistent. They come in, and it's been great. In season, depending on the sport and the coach, could be 1 day a week, could be 2 days a week. Wrestling does 2 days a week. They come in on Monday, and then they come in on Thursday after their match.
Yeah. I was just, as you were saying this, Paul, I was having flashbacks to my early teenage years where we just trained Monday through Saturday, Monday through Friday. And that volume of work, in my opinion, not even opinion, in my experience, has been very necessary for the undersized athletes.
Yeah.
It's like it is the contributing factor that helps increase their power output in sport. So today I trained baseball as well, and one of our seniors squats 405 for a triple.
Wow.
And I remember as freshmen, they were all small. Like that common weight of 120 pounds was the norm. And I always tell the athletes, you don't realize it now, but if you gain 1 pound a month, you will be 50 pounds heavier at the end of high school. Okay, 1 pound a month. If you gain 1.5 pounds a month, now we're looking at 18 pounds a year, which doesn't sound amazing, but in 2 years, 36 pounds is a big difference. And then
Yeah.
in 4 years, 72 pounds, major difference. And I find if you don't strength train enough, why would it stimulate your appetite? Why would you even be hungry? Your body is not getting messages or experiencing anything challenging enough saying, hey, feed me, help nourish the work that we are doing. And, why are kids on farms strong? They're strength training every day with their manual labor. And what does that do? It increases appetite. And what does that do when you're drinking milk, eating steak and eggs and potatoes and bacon and salad every day? You get big. And so
Yeah.
nobody's getting big. I hate to say it, twice a week is very popular at my school and at the underground, but nobody's getting significant gains from it. Mike Boyle said, if you want to train twice a week, you need to start in 7th grade.
Hmm.
You need like that long-term effect.
Yeah, and it's the volume. There's no doubt about it. And I like what you're saying about it could be 12 pounds a month, or if you get that extra half pound, I'm sorry, 12 pounds a year, you get that extra half pound, that adds an extra 6, that's 18 pounds. But it's useful muscle. It's not
Yes.
just weight. These kids, I want to bulk, I want to bulk. No, I want weight that's going to help you push harder into the ground and make you run faster. I want weight that isn't going to make a difference when you go to stop, you don't roll through that stop. I want those muscles to be able to be useful. Like you say all the time, strong and useful. We got a lot of kids who bulk up and get super strong, but they can't move, they can't jump, they can't do these things. So that weight goes to no use whatsoever. I want our kids to have that blend of change of direction, speed, jumping. Oh yeah, we're going to put 1.5 pounds on. So I told our spring athletes right now, once we hit the new year, I'm okay with 1 pound. I don't want to get them so heavy that those 3 months slow them down. I still want to go for 1 pound. But if I have my fall athletes, I told them anywhere from 2 to 1.5 pounds. Like, we want to get after it. We want to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You say it all the time. You want to have 3 meals before 3 o'clock. They got to pack it on, but really good stuff. Eggs, sandwiches. Not yodels and Tic Tacs. We want to make sure that they're eating the right stuff.
I have somebody sent me these old York Barbell PDFs, and I think one was from like 1930s, early 40s, and I'll take a screenshot of it. I'll post it up later. It was something like food that is good for bulking. And it
Yep.
was everything you just said. Like it said, like eat a thick cut of steak, eat eggs, eat fruits and vegetables, eat lots of roasted chicken, potatoes. I mean, this is all basic stuff. I've always said you got to eat like you live on a farm. And
Yep.
so I'm really excited when I see somebody following through on that. I always say, hey, this really is the role of the parents because they're the ones food shopping, they're the ones cooking. And when parents are lined up with it, in alignment with it, they're supporting the kid. But like that video we shared on the underground that Nate spoke of, he said, listen, Zach loves to cook for his kids. He's like, but what made me very successful was I was cooking in like first and second grade. And my wife did that with Ethan. She made sure he knew how to cook. So she would say, Ethan, learn how to make me French toast. And he would have to figure that stuff out. And these things are important because if you get in the habit of learning to cook, you're out of the habit of saying, I'm just going to get my breakfast from Dunkin'. I'm
Yeah.
going to get my lunch from Wawa. That's not real food. And so
No.
you've got to eat, which is also holding back athletes today. What about the split, Paul? The four days a week. What does the split look like?
So today or yesterday was trap bar deadlift, and we'll throw some other legs in, but I always put some upper body. So because I wanted more upper body volume yesterday at the end, we did a step up. So we did a front side push after a backside double pull with the deadlift, and then I said, listen, put chains on the bar. We're going to do bar curl, and we're going to try to do tricep push downs with that. So we added some extra upper body volume. So when they came in today for their upper body bench press lift, we added a little bit of extra lower body volume too. So it's not just it's more of a total body lift with a focus on that core lift. So they'll have the day off. They'll come back. It'll be a squat 5-3-1 on Thursday. With some more lower body accessories. We'll do some ankle mobility in there so that they can get really good squats. But again, we're on a 5-3-1 week, so the main thing is the main thing. I want them to get a max rep on their single at 95%. I want to see how many they get. And today for bench, I think the most we got was 8 on their 95%. They got after it. And then Friday is a total body day. It'll be upper body. I can either do incline press or we can do some landmine work. We'll do some other accessories for their shoulders, shoulder health, and we always finish on Fridays with a little bit of hard work, a little GPP at the end. So it's a week that stays consistent. So it's lower, upper, lower, total, and then they have a little bit of conditioning at the end.
Love it. And as you're speaking about these main lifts, Paul, I'm thinking to myself, some coaches have gotten away from those main lifts
Mm-hmm.
and they think they're not performance based. So, for example, you're mentioning building strength on the shoulders, getting military presses, landmine. Sometimes I even do seated dumbbell military presses. That's
Yeah.
an old power bodybuilding lift. But some coaches get away from it and they're like, everything is power. We're going to do med ball slam, med ball throw. You're putting out the power, but the body must have armor and
Yep.
it has to be able to withstand impact. And this is for girls soccer, field hockey, girls lacrosse, and certainly football and wrestling. And I want to say this before I hand it over to you. Parents of football players in wrestling and lacrosse and rugby, any of these combat sports that are known for injury.
Mm-hmm.
Football is known for injuries. Wrestling is known for injuries. Mom and dad, or whoever's at home, you are responsible for making sure your son or daughter, because we got girls wrestling exploding, is
Yep.
strength training. And to empower them and find them opportunities to get strong. And as I always say, you know who's training your son or daughter. So at the local high school, is it somebody who's qualified, certified, experienced, like we are? Who are you taking them to if you're going to a private strength coach? What does that private strength coach really do with them? How do they make adjustments in season,
Mm-hmm.
off season, the day before a game, even the day of a game? And again, when I think of training athletes in football and wrestling, Paul, I always say number one job is protect them because
Yes.
kids have gotten their necks broken in the sport. So I am not good with athletes in those sports like trying to chill out from getting strong. And I speak with Jeremy Hartman this all the time. He's like, dude, my best wrestlers and best football players keep showing up in season. They continue to get stronger, and you see them doing weighted pull-ups,
Mm-hmm.
heavy benching, heavy squats. They're lifting heavy.
Yeah. I've heard this before, and I say it to our parents all the time. Are they good with your kids, or are they good for your kids? Is there some discipline that comes with it, or do they just do whatever they want and no matter what, they just have fun? I want our kids to understand that if they're not doing something right, I'm going to coach them. We're gonna get coached. And if I'm not there to not hurt their I'm not trying to hurt their feelings, but what I'm trying to do is make sure they're doing things the right way. And then if they can do that, I know when they get into their team situation, they're going to be doing things the right way because they're going to hold other people accountable too. So if you hold them accountable and they understand that, they may say to the guy on the next rack or on the next platform, say, you know what, that's not the way we do things here. Let's do it a little bit better. And that's when teams start to get really good, when kids can start to do that. Not treat each other bad, but treat each other with respect, number one, but number two, with some discipline
Yeah.
and holding each other accountable. And I think with some places they don't get that because they just get to do whatever they want to do. We were doing a footwork drill the other day, and a kid did it wrong, and all the kids in the back were laughing. We're still like giving them high fives. I'm like, why are we okay with that? Why are we giving somebody a high five for doing the wrong thing? I said, if you make the wrong play on the football field or on the basketball court, does the coach come up to you and give you a high five and just say, yeah, that's okay? No, he tries to coach you the right way and do things. So, yeah.
Leadership, leadership amongst teenagers is a tough one. I think what would be a great holiday gift for a lot of kids. Problem is, kids don't really read. They scroll through phones. But man, if you could read Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink,
Yeah.
or just start diving down the rabbit hole of his book of his videos, that would be great. Because what we want is when we say to an athlete, you need to squat lower, or you need to show up more often, or you need to add weight to the bar. That's just feedback, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that's exactly what they need. And we cannot expect everything to be this like buddy and positive. But if you want to get better, we have to tell you how to get better. So I think it's interesting that we have to kind of preface like, hey, we said squat lower and we don't want you to get offended.
Yeah, I agree. We're not there to be their friend. We want to make sure they get the most out of their session, the
Yep.
most value out of their session, whether they're paying for it or they're coming to the school. I want value in that session, and that's doing things the right way. That's when it's a competition, competing at a high level. If they're sprinting, and it's lifting the weight and struggling a little bit because some of the lifts should be hard. They should
Yep.
be difficult. And, some people, to shy away from that hard a little bit. So they have to lean into it a little bit more. And as a coach, we can help them do that.
Something that you mentioned, sprinting, and we're talking about like different times of year to train. We see the outfielders pulling hamstrings in baseball. And so I was saying to our baseball team, I said, hey, we need to incorporate acceleration drills and sprints. And so you have a bigger weight room than I do. And you got to be careful when it's cold outside if you are a coach. But we might do a contrast method where they might do some sort of a squat or a trap bar deadlift, and that's in our weight room.
Mm-hmm.
Then they just walk out the door, and that's our bubble. It's like a full length basketball court. And I tell them, just do an acceleration run down, an acceleration run back. And as they get exposed more to that, then it could be sprinting, which is an all out effort. And we also have a hill. But when the snow will go away, we will do hill sprints, because actually baseball starts in mid-March, and then they're outside in April, and it's cold. And so we want to expose I've heard the phrase expose their tissues to that kind of force. So you have to do sprinting. So if you are in the colder weather states and you avoid sprinting in the wintertime, no good. You could do the jumping, you could do even sprinting with sleds. It's great, but it doesn't compare to a sprint on flat surface. My preference is to do the hills more often than not, but we will expose them to flat surface, and we start them with acceleration drills. So I want people to keep in mind, as we're talking about strength and body armor, we're also talking about speed and athleticism and building sport muscle.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, you can go out in the snow and do that Rocky Four, snow crawl when he's up in Russia. Um, but strong and useful and athletic, move well, move strong, move fast. We have that on our pillars. That's what I want our kids to understand, that it's not just one thing. It's not just the weights. It is the speed and the jumping and the contrast and all of that stuff that goes into training, not just lifting weights. And, if lifting weights were the answer, then you can go to any big box gym and find kids and they'd all be all Americans. And that's not the case. We want kids to have the whole package. Like when I look at some of your old underground stuff, you're flipping tires, you're pulling sleds, you're pulling them forward, you're pulling them backwards, you're pulling them sideways. Kids are climbing ropes. Like it's one movement to the other. It's transition from one thing to the other. That's athletic, man. It's not just sitting on a bench or pushing a bar. And don't get me wrong, powerlifting and all of those things, you're pushing a lot of weight, you're doing it, but that's all you're doing. You're doing it in one plane of motion. And we need to throw med balls like I saw you doing on a video the other day, as hard as you can. You have a med ball wall and a med ball. This should be as violent as you can get with that med ball. Throw it as hard as you can. If it breaks, it breaks. You can always buy new stuff. So we throw them as hard as we can. I have debris all over my floor from our overhead throws yesterday. I have to vacuum that up. But there's got to be some violence. There's got to be some speed. Yes, you got to press some heavy weight, but man, you got to have the whole package for these kids to compete, number one, but two, have that toughness.
It's so funny you started bringing up like the older videos from the underground, tire flips, keg carries, climbing rope. There's something to be said about athletes with high work capacity. They're heavier, they're more durable. They tend to take that intensity and apply it to their sport. They know how to practice at a high level of intent, where they're getting something out of it, where they're building actual sport conditioning. And if you train, if you practice lazy, there's no way you're flipping the switch in competition. And so training, as you said, must be tough and challenging. And even in my own training last week, I was like, man, I haven't carried a keg for a while. I carried a keg, not even our heavier keg. And I was like, man, it hit my back in a way that I hasn't been hit before. Then I carried the 100-pound sandbag right, and it hits like your spinal erector muscle in such a different manner that does not get hit from even just basic farmer walks. And so for the coaches out there, I highly recommend incorporating odd lifting and safety factor in there. The athletes should be ready for it, but you could make lighter sandbags. You could get kegs filled with different weights of water, like maybe 50, 80, and 100 or 110. And I had a local welder. He was actually my neighbor's. They welded the kegs for me. And I did that when I was at Lehigh. And then thing at underground. I went, at Rutgers. I took kegs from the underground and I brought them to Rutgers. And so using those odd objects builds unique strength, but also some grit and toughness, that's what's needed. Big time. For athletes, it's needed.
Yeah, no doubt. And I would see body carries, body drags, like changing your center of gravity and any way you can, whether it's with a keg or a med ball, a human being. We did some bear crawls with a partner draped over him the other day, and just hard work and body drags and wheelbarrows and
Yes,
you know,
wheelbarrow. Louis,
yeah.
I remember, was talking to me about training fighters, and he said, we do a lot of man drills. I go, what's man drills? He goes, when you carry your
Hmm.
buddy, you carry somebody else, whether it's piggyback ride, underhook. And there's a great book, Paul. I don't know. I'm like looking at my bookshelf. I probably have it somewhere. Well, we've got Wrestling Physical Conditioning Encyclopedia,
Hmm.
and that was a 1974 book on training wrestlers. I did a video on it. But there's a book called Strong Together, and then there's a book called The Encyclopedia of Underground Strength that has all of those exercises, man drills, partner bodyweight drills, odd objects. I would like to see coaches getting that book. Um, and it's on, do we have it a Kindle? I think Dragon Door might sell it as a PDF, but the new one, just go on Amazon. So what else, Paul? You want? Let's close out with any last comment or tip that you have for the parents or the athletes.
No, just the athletes right now that 1 week, week and a half before the holiday where you're going to get a chance to have some family time, do some of your own stuff, get the most out of these. So this week we're actually doing some of the groups are doing APRE 6, which is a 1 to 4 on the last set. So we're trying to reestablish some maxes for these guys, estimated 1 RMs. My older group, my advanced group's doing a 5-3-1. Get after it now while you can, and that's going to stick. You'll hold over in the next couple of days, but then enjoy some family time, enjoy some downtime, so that when we come back in January, your body's ready to rock. You got a little bit of refresher in there. You get after it, and it's going to be useful for a good year.
Yep, I like that. And just you talk about having fun. Next week we have a full day of school Monday, half day Tuesday. So Monday, whatever class I have, I think I'm going to do like a med ball shouldering challenge just for 30
Nice.
seconds, and then or maybe some sort of a little circuit challenge, like
Yeah.
3 exercises per time, and then I'm going to let them do arm farm.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
that'll be very good. And then at the underground, we always do a training session the morning of a holiday. So the morning of New Year's Eve, the morning of Christmas Eve, the morning of New Year's Eve. We did it the morning of Thanksgiving. I like what you're talking about, resting, but I also say do something.
Yep.
Anything that keeps don't go into full lazy mode. Make sure you're doing something without a coach or
Hmm.
your parent hovering over you. And for the parents out there, support the coaches that are challenging your son or daughter to be their best. That's all I got. So, this is Strong Life Podcast and the New Jersey Strength Coach Podcast. Paul and I co-chair the NHSSDA in New Jersey. So go to nhssda.us and you can become a member. We do our state clinic in New Jersey. It's absolutely amazing and such a
Yep.
great group of people. So that's all I got for everybody. Paul, I'll call you in the morning as always.
Yeah, brother.
All right, guys. See you
We'll
later.
see you.
Have a great
Peace
night.
out.
Bye, everybody.